Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into a topic that is absolutely crucial for our long-term health, but it almost never gets the spotlight it actually deserves. We're talking about your morning fasting blood sugar. We spend so much time tracking our weight, checking our blood pressure, or just anxiously waiting around for those annual lab results that we completely ignore this one metric. And it's wild, because this number tells a fascinating story about our metabolism every single day. So we're going to unpack exactly what this number is, why it shifts as we get older, and how you can use it to take back control.
Okay, let's dive right into this. It begs a really big question. What if the most important health number you could be tracking isn't the one you get at your yearly physical? What if it's not even your A1C? For millions of adults, especially those of us over 55, there's a subtle shift that happens literally right at the start of the day. This daily morning number is quietly changing, and it often starts shifting years before a condition like diabetes ever actually shows up on a standard lab report. So, why on earth is this daily snapshot just slipping under our radar?
Well, the core of the problem really comes down to how we've been taught to look at blood sugar. Most people just assume it's only a concern for diabetics, right? So they get it checked once a year at their physical, they get their A1C number, hear that everything is fine, and totally move on. But here is the catch. Your A1C is an average over a 3-month period, and because it's an average, it smooths out all the highs and the lows. So your A1C can look perfectly, completely normal while entirely missing these vital hidden daily morning spikes. Something incredibly important is happening every single morning, and a simple average just cannot capture it.
And this brilliantly illustrates a fascinating process that doctors call the dawn phenomenon. While you are sound asleep, your body is hard at work getting you ready for the day. It basically acts like a built-in alarm clock, kind of like a biological cup of coffee. It naturally releases a surge of hormones, specifically things like cortisol and growth hormone, which are designed to wake you up and get your energy moving. Now, in a perfectly healthy metabolism, your body just releases a bit of insulin to quietly balance this all out. But here's the biological reality we have to face. As we age, our insulin sensitivity naturally starts to decline. And when that sensitivity drops, that morning hormone surge can actually push your blood sugar higher than expected, literally before you've even taken your first bite of breakfast.
So, what's actually at stake here if this dawn phenomenon just goes unnoticed? Well, a climbing fasting glucose level is often one of the very earliest warning signs of insulin resistance. And we aren't just talking about a few months here. This is a slow, stealthy timeline that can stretch 5 to 10 years before a formal prediabetes or diabetes diagnosis is ever handed down. If left entirely unaddressed, this silent drift upward can quietly start to sap your daily energy, stall your weight management, and eventually it can directly impact your cardiovascular health and long-term heart risk. It's a silent progression, and we absolutely must pay attention to it.
Let's break down the science simply and just look at the numbers. The general medical consensus is that a fasting blood sugar reading under 100 milligrams per deciliter is considered completely normal, green light. But when you move into that 100 to 125 range, you're entering the caution zone, the pre-diabetics range. Consistently sitting over 126 flags up potential diabetes diagnosis. But remember, the rest of your day might be perfectly normal, keeping your overall A1C average totally healthy, even while your morning number sits right in that yellow caution zone. That is exactly why doctors are increasingly viewing that fasting number not just as a diagnostic checkbox to tick off, but as a highly sensitive early warning radar.
Section 1, Carol's story and the hidden trend.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing how this actually plays out in the real world. Let's look at Carol. She's a 61-year-old teacher who felt perfectly fine in her day-to-day life. In fact, her annual A1C tests had come back looking absolutely fine for 3 consecutive years. On the surface, 0 red flags. But a hidden trend emerged when they looked a bit closer at her daily morning numbers. In year 1, her fasting glucose was 92, very normal. In year 2, it crept up to 98, still technically normal, but it's moving. By year 3, it hit 104, officially crossing into that caution zone we just talked about. Carol experienced 0 symptoms during this whole time, but that subtle, symptomless climb over 3 years was enough for a physician to recognize exactly what was happening under the hood.
This brings us to a foundational principle from a medical perspective. Don't just look at one number, look at the trend. The real value here lies in the pattern. You see, a single reading only tells you exactly where you are in that one specific second of the day. But a pattern, a trend tracked over months and years, tells you exactly where your health is heading. And when it comes to protecting your metabolism and your cardiovascular system, understanding the direction you're heading is infinitely more useful for prevention than just looking at one isolated snapshot in time.
So let's see how this builds into actionable solutions, because this is where you can really take control. There are 4 clear steps you can take right now. First, if you check your blood sugar at home, start tracking those fasting morning numbers over time instead of just looking at them in isolation. Second, incorporate a short walk after dinner. Just moving a bit after your final meal has been scientifically shown to help blunt those overnight glucose spikes. Third, prioritize consistent sleep. Poor sleep directly worsens your insulin sensitivity, which makes that dawn phenomenon much harder for your body to manage. And finally, fourth, have a conversation with your doctor about checking your fasting insulin level. That test can often reveal metabolic resistance even earlier than a standard glucose test can.
The crucial point here is this. We have to avoid the most common mistake people make, which is waiting for a formal diagnosis before making any lifestyle changes. Too many of us just stand by, waiting for a lab result to hand us permission to act. But you have the power to act today. Early pre-diabetes patterns, like a creeping morning fasting number, are very often completely reversible with some simple early lifestyle adjustments. However, they become significantly harder to reverse once that insulin resistance is fully established.
Ultimately, your morning fasting number is not something to fear at all. Think of it as empowering information. Used early, it might just be the single most effective tool you have to protect your long-term vitality. Thank you so much for joining this explainer. If you found this information helpful, please hit subscribe for more health insights tailored for adults over 50. But before you go, I want to leave you with this final thought. Tomorrow morning, literally before you even pour your first cup of coffee, your body is going to give you a metabolic scorecard. The only question is,